Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Russ, K52UX, Cheryl, W5MOO, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 423 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. And this is our short topics edition. So thank you for being here, and we welcome you in. And before we get rolling on our topics tonight, we will introduce ourselves. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, so we're all here tonight. The gang's all here, yay.
Woo-hoo.
And we do actually have a lead topic tonight, because coming up in a couple of weeks, if you're listening to this when it comes out, we have yet another QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo. We didn't think Eric was going to try and pull this one off, but he is. So, yes, there's another Virtual Ham Expo. And Bill wants to tell you all about what's going to happen at the Virtual Ham Expo, right?
Yeah, we're not going to have a booth. Yay!
He asked me about it a couple of days ago, too. He's like, do you want a booth? They're like, no.
It's too much sitting around waiting for stuff to happen and stuff like that. So, we're going to do a presentation instead. That seems to have a lot of traction, probably more so than anything else. So we'll probably just have, we did entitle the talk free open source software for your ham shack. Gee, that sounds a lot like Linux in the ham shack, but hey, whatever. We'll talk about free software that you can put on your ham shack computer, and we'll talk about the podcast, and it'll probably just be pretty free form like the previous ones have been. And we hope you'll join us in your busy schedule of presentations that are going to be available during the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo.
Yes,
I don't know what time or day or anything yet. We just we know we're on the list.
Yeah, we're on the list, and it looks like there are going to be a ton of talks. So there'll be plenty of content, regardless of what you're interested in. And we're just going to talk about free and open source and ourselves and just have a good time, which is what we normally do. We're just going to do it on a different platform. So we hope you'll join us there as you join us here. So
yeah, and he's gone back to the vFairs platform, so that'll be at least a positive. I'm not sure what the presentations are going to be like. I'm assuming they'll probably just use Zoom like they did the last time they had vFairs for the Q&As, and ours will just be a Zoom call. So I'm just assuming that's what we're going to be using. So be prepared.
Probably a safe assumption, and it's not like everybody doesn't have Zoom at this point, because that's how they got through the last 18 months. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, very good. And that, by the way, again, is on August 14th and 15th. So coming up very soon. And hopefully we'll see you at the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo. And with that being said, we can move on from our lead topic to our amateur radio topics, which we always start with. And I didn't read through any of these, so I'm just going to let Bill hit the first one while I read through the second one.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds appropriate. This one, I was looking for ham radio news, and I just gave up. And I started just looking for amateur radio news inside of DuckDuckGo and Google News engines. And lo and behold, I found a story here that I hadn't quite seen surface anywhere else, so we'll go ahead and mention it. Ham radios to aid in cyclone relief in the Sundarbans. I have no idea where that's at, but I'm assuming that you can look that up.
Cheryl's probably doing that right now, and she'll tell us exactly where the Sundarbans are here in a minute.
Yes. So in the last week of May, hours before Cyclone Yas made landfall in northern coastal Odisha and battered coastal West Bengal, we're getting the geography here. Ambarish Nag Biswaz, sorry about the names, secretary of the West Bengal Radio Club, amateur radio club, got a call from senior bureaucrat about deployment of some ham radio operatives in Perba. I shouldn't have put the story in here.
No, you just needed to drink a little bit more before you started.
Medinipur district, where the maximum damage was expected. Mr. Biswas said it was difficult for the operators who had already positioned themselves in different areas to move to Purba Medinipur. Communication turns out to be a major challenge during the cyclones, and particularly in Sundarbans, with more than 50 inhabited islands located in remote areas, some of them at the mouth of the Bay of Bengal. They remain cut off for days, often for days, and the state had in the past 3 years faced 4 tropical cyclones, Fanny in May 2019, Bulbul in November 2019, Amphan May 2020, and Yas May 2021. And all occasions, the administration had to wait for connection to be restored to assess damage and send relief. A few months after Yas, Mr. Nag Biswas got a call from the district administrator of the South 24 Parganas to train local youths, we got youths again, from the Sundarbans in operating ham radio sets. This was to augment the community-based disaster preparedness of the region. In quotes, to establish a dedicated wireless communication system at vulnerable areas under the South 24 Parganas district during different disasters, you are requested to train following civil defense volunteers for smooth and effective conduct of the above system. Read the letter dated July 13th by Office of the Controller of the Civil Defense, South 24 Parganas, addressed to Mr. Nag Biswas. Accordingly, a training of 60 volunteers, mostly residing in the Sundarbans, had started earlier this month. And the story came to us from The Hindu. So there you go. Emergency preparedness and communications across the globe.
And Bill got to mangle it all on his own, too, instead of letting Cheryl do that.
It seemed like a good one to make you do, right?
Yeah, that's usually the one I get. So anyway, the Sundarbans is a mangrove area in the delta formed by the confluence of the Ganges, Brahmaputra, or something like that, and mega rivers in the Bay of Bengal. It's governed by India under Bangladesh. So
there you go. That would make sense since the news thing was the Hindu.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that? All right. So since your mic is on, you want to read a story about Missouri? Oh, she turned her mic off.
You guys always gripe because I make so much noise, and then you're like,
"No,
okay.
You're fine. I just don't be clicking on the keyboard while you're reading. That's all you got to do."
All right, whatever.
Or your mouse, because I can actually hear your mouse clicks too.
Well, yeah, I kind of have to use the mouse to do something there. So, all right. So the next story is Missouri First Capitol Bicentennial Amateur Radio Operation. So, in association with the August 2021 celebration of the Missouri State Bicentennial, which is Missouri2021.org, there will be a first ever amateur radio activation of Missouri's first Capital State Historic Site on August 10th. For more information on amateur ham radio, the ARRL.
You don't need to read
I don't need that. Thanks.
Sorry.
The original building served as Missouri's capital from 1821 to 1826 and is located on the west bank of the Missouri River. The site is part of the St. Charles Historic District in the city's Riverfront neighborhood and is adjacent to Frontier Park, where Lewis and Clark launched their Corps of Discovery expedition in August 1803. The address for the first capital is 200 South Main Street in St. Charles, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis. An amateur radio station operated by the St. Charles Amateur Radio Club, SCARC, using the call sign K0B, will be active on the first Capitol site on August 10th. Scheduled operation will be announced as the date gets closer. First Capitol site also qualifies for a National Parks on the Air program with the identifier K3349. Additional POTA-style activations from both the first Capitol site and from adjacent Frontier Park are possible on other dates, depending on weather and operator availability. While in operation, an operator will be available to answer questions. And this information came from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
All right, very
Check
good.
that out.
Yeah, and if you listen to The Weekender, which aired just before this episode, you already heard about this because it was one of the ARRL events that I read. So,
Oh, there you go. So
well, there you go.
Double duty. We using this as news as well. So it's so important.
It's newsy. It's about the state we live in. Well, me and Cheryl anyway.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have a Capitals on the Air program come up soon, right? Coda. We'll have some Coda.
Coda, yeah.
Coda.
How many Odas will there be? So,
Many. Many.
There are
Odas.
already many. Yes.
So many iotas. Oh wait, that's one too. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Aota, Boda, Coda, Dota, Iota.
They have Moda too. Moda.
Yeah, and
Mine's
the best
on
one,
the air.
Iota.
Iota. Utes
Yep,
on the air.
Utes on the air, and also a small green thing. All right, so let's move on from amateur radio topics into open source, and I put a couple of things in here, but it was kind of a slow open source news week or something. So anyway, bear with me. This next couple of stories, the next one, whoever reads it, probably Bill, is written from a first person perspective. So you'll just have to kind of go with that. So
Okay, we'll go and shoot for it here.
yeah,
Likely.
no. I'm gonna read this.
Oh,
one.
you're gonna do
I'm
that
saying
one.
the,
Oh, okay.
the next one isn't.
Oh, you're giving me the harder one. Okay.
I'm good. Yeah,
Go
that's right. So the first one is likely half of Python's package index has vulnerabilities. Ooh, lovely. In a research paper distributed via Archive, Jukka Ruonen, Kalle Jyrpe, and Kalle Rindel from the University of Turku, I'm going to guess that's Finland or Norway or something, describe how they subjected some 197,000 Python packages available through PyPy to a that's PyPy, P-Y-P-I, to a static analysis tool called Bandit, and found more than 749,000 instances of at best poor or at worst insecure programming. Of the issues identified, most are low severity. About 227,000 are moderate severity, present in about 25% of the PyPy packages. About 80,000 are high severity, present in about 11% of the PyPy packages. App Engine SDK, an unofficial package of Google's Python development kit for its App Engine cloud service, exhibited more serious problems. Among the 2,356 issues detected, wow, that's a lot of issues. 395 refer to generic known risky issues, 351 are injection related, 500 have to do with potential cross-site scripting, and 7 involve potentially insecure network protocols. Modern software tends to rely on open source libraries written by third parties who in turn have incorporated other libraries as dependencies into their projects. Meanwhile, malware creators have recognized how much software gets trusted by default because there's no practical way to check dozens of packages and many levels of dependencies, and have stepped up efforts to subvert the system.
Dun, dun, dun.
That came from The Register over in the UK, and it's a much longer article, so a link to it has been put in the show notes. And if you want to find out more about all the insecurities in Python, you can go check that out.
Finland.
Okay, I was right. Well, sort of. I picked 2, and Finland was one of them. So, all right, very good. So now Bill can read the next one. I think it's an easy read. It's just
Yes.
it's not Bill speaking. So
Yes. So I tried to clarify that here at the beginning too. So this is a story called or titled Novena, a laptop with no secrets. And of course it is written in the first person. So the we that is being used in the article is actually the authors, Andrew Huang and Sean Cross, who are self-employed American computer scientists living in Singapore. So here we go. We started by considering the constraints of the most complex and brittle pieces of any such system, the software. We wanted to build a complete computer, one with a long-term support roadmap, and we had neither the resources nor the manpower to negotiate with the vendors of the proprietary hardware and software. We wanted to be able to inspect and understand as much of the system and its components as we could, so if we came across bugs or other anomalous behavior, we could rely on our own wits to figure it out, rather than on profit-motivated and often empty promises of a vendor's sales team. As a result, we decided to produce a laptop that was free as possible of closed-source embedded firmware. This open-source requirement of ours ended up influencing the selection of almost every piece of hardware, including the main CPU, the battery controller, and the Wi-Fi module. As software evolved, the hardware evolved with it. The most extraordinary step we took was to include a field programmable gate array, an FPGA, type of processor chip that can be reconfigured by its user to change the chip's specs and capabilities. Basically, this reconfigurability allows the chip to do things in hardware that would otherwise have to be done in software. Because we developed the project on a shoestring budget and with no solid requirement other than to build the laptop we ourselves would want to use, the laptop evolved organically. Instead of designing circuits into motherboard specific to a particular battery or LCD, typical for most consumer laptops, we modularized the system. We linked subsystems using generic connectors with pinouts that were merely educated guesses as to what the users would end up hooking into those pins. As a result, the final incarnation of the laptop includes a specialized adapter boards for the battery pack, LCD, and front bezel arrangement. That's the frame for the display. The good thing about this modularity is that users can adapt the system to meet their own needs. We're delighted to have received reports of users changing out LCDs and building custom battery packs, and users can add the keyboard of their choice. We don't include one. And this, of course, came from the IEEE, and this is talking about a modular computer called Novena, I'm thinking.
Yes, and that story is way longer. That was cut way down. So if you want to read all the details about the Novena laptop, feel free to check out the link that will be in the show notes.
And it's an ARM-based laptop using a Freescale MX6 system on a chip, just so you know. But yeah, check out the show notes and the link, and you can find out all about it.
Yeah, they mentioned the fact that they couldn't use Intel architecture because of its proprietariness. So that's why they went with ARM.
Yeah.
All right. Since this next one is a cut and paste thing, I moved them down into the Linux in the Ham Shack segment just because these involve open source and computers, and ham radio often uses computers, and we just didn't have any topics. So, and then of course Bill found one. So
yeah, I did find one extra. So
all right, so you do this one since it's a bunch of cut and paste bullet points, and I'm not dealing with that. And of course the next one is too. Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you can wing the next one.
I'll wing the next one. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So this is I wrote here releases that make you go and so we have two releases from Free Desktop.
I'm sorry. Are you waiting for that?
Yeah. Two releases from Free Desktop. One is Pipewire 0.3.32. That was just released here. It's a bug fix release that the API and ABI compatible with previous 0.3.x releases. Highlights here that they addressed was the real-time priority handling for threads that was reworked. Freewheeling will now drop RT priorities to avoid being killed. Problems with filter chains and echo cancel being linked in a loop was fixed. ALSA Mixer should be able to see the mixer controls again. That's a positive. Jack had seen some latency reporting improvements that made Ardour report latencies correctly. So yeah, it looks like they had a lot of bug fixes and stuff like that with Pipewire, and you already know our story with Pipewire here.
It no worky.
Yeah, I had an unsuccessful launch for me, at least. It worked for a little bit, then it got janky. So, but also along with this release, they released a new version of Pulse Audio, the Pulse Audio 15, which kind of made me go, what are we focusing on here? I guess we're focusing on both because Pulse Audio 15 included a ton of changes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So now they have support for LDAC and aptX Bluetooth codecs plus the SBC-XQ, the higher quality parameters, support for HFP Bluetooth profiles, support for Bluetooth A2DP, AVRCP, blah, 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 absolute volume. Module virtual surround sync was rewritten completely. More options for the module jack D-bus detect. So that should give better interoperability between Pulse Audio and jack, even though I think you should be using, Pipewire, but whatever. More, improved hardware support for SteelSeries Arctis 9 max latency at MSEC argument is added to the module null source. Yeah, lots of stuff. Improvements to the free BSD support, Windows support added to Meson, and additional commands for Pactal, or PA control, PACTL. Card profiles can be set to sticky. That should be nice. And more, lots more. Lots lots more. So yeah, check out both of those releases. And yeah, I'm not sure where. I mean, I don't know what the timeline is on moving away from Pulse Audio being sort of standalone and then Pipewire sort of being everything. But whatever, I digress.
Well, didn't we say that about Also? Also was the standalone, and then Pulse Audio was supposed to be the everything. So
yeah. I mean, it's like deja vu, but I guess we'll see.
Again. Yep.
We'll see.
All right. Well, so the next story Bill chucked in here at the last second was about WFU, which is a project we talked about a little bit ago. It's a ICOM-based pan adapter, more or less, remote rig view application. Apparently, version 1.1 has been released. Royland, I know it's not quite Roland, it's like Royland, something like that. Janssen, PA3MET announced on the Linux Ham mailing list that version 1.1 had been released. The following highlights are in this release. More testing is needed, but support has been added for the IC 7700, 718, and 7100. Ooh, I have one of those.
Yeah.
Fixes and improvements to audio quality, ability to choose between RT audio and QT multimedia as a compile time option. Fixes and lots of improvement at the USB server end. Waterfall length can now be adjusted. There's no need to restart to change the CIV address. Seamless changing rigs without restart. That's nice. Started support for older rigs like 718 and apparently 7100, which is not super old, but it's not one of those new fancy digital rigs. Let's see. WF display disappears when there is no WF capable rig. Okay, that makes sense. The IC, they could just put up a big waterfall that says no.
Not going to happen.
ICR 8600 support has been improved. For older rigs, added a polling timing box to keep stuff keeping smooth. Okay, sure. Local AF gain now has anti-log audio pot taper, and you can select a second meter in the UI and lots of bug fixes. I put lots of in there. It just says bug fixes, but I'm going to assume there were lots of them.
Sure. There's definitely more than one.
Yeah, right. And this came from Royland, PA3MET, but it was announced on the Linux Ham mailing list, or at least that's where Bill found it. So there you go. New stuff for WFU, and that means I can probably actually do something with it with my 7100 now. So I'm going to give it yet another shot. So that actually sort of rather quickly takes us down through our topics to the bottom of the show. And considering 20 minutes ago this show was a lot shorter, you got some more content. But we're not quite done yet because we got to bring Cheryl back in here now so she can do the social media roundup.
Woohoo!
Yeah, woo.
Woo! So
everybody say woo.
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 Woo. Woo. Moo, woo, something like that. So for our Patreons this time, we have David Slaughter, Jim Lawson, Patrick Ang, Douglas Chalk, Eric Guth, Brandon Rozek, John Spriggs, Robert Lewis, Robert Pitts, Douglas Rudder, David Jagway, Darren King, Cubicle Nate, Erno Costella, Samuel Vimes, Peter Caffrey, Richard Gordon, Paul Griffith, Jonas Rulo, Donald Gever, Herb Garcia, Steve Sainer, Steve Metcalf, William Heckelman, Randolph Smith, and Andy Webster. For subscriptions, we have Paul Mooney, Chris DeLuca, Andy Cowley, Eric Muller, Carl Backus, Isaac Gear, Thomas Foy, Michael Burdack, Kevin Ivey, Tony Coberly, Ronald Ike, Johnny Kinsey, Peter Spots, Fred Cole, Bill Piotr, Jeffrey Boris, Robert Halliday, Wayne Hale, John Clark, Steve Hepler, Michael Jopling, Roger Pereira, Howard Dittmer, Todd Bowers, Michael Carey, A. Taylor, Dylan Engel, Jim McKenzie, Bill Collins, Robert Black, Darren King, Randolph Smith, Robert Yerke, Steve Biella, Alan Wilson, Mark Farrell, and Jeff Zimmerman. Whew, okay. Now, down to Facebook. Cynthia Ernst and Brian Esky joined us. On Twitter, we had at KJ5T, at OnyxMK, at N4TBB, and Malk0. On YouTube, we had Norman Richards, Daniel Flynn, Scott Wright, Dave Benson, and Euster Mora. On Discord, we had Robert, Casey3DRU, The Love Bug, ABC Lean on Me, Derb Sturber, Spartan Bros, Rudy, Benfeed 2003, MVB, Reaper 11. No one joined us on the mailing list, and Steve Annis bought something from us.
Yes, he did. We had merchandise sales, and the mailing list, as you heard on the last show, is working. So feel free to go to the website and sign up for the mailing list because it's back. So haven't really done much with it other than to get it working. I think the archives are broken still, but if you were on the list at one point, you should still be there. But if you want to sign up for our mailing list, it's very low traffic, but we do put stuff out there. And we do put things like contests on the mailing list. So if you want to find out about those, you might want to sign up. And we won't flood your inbox, I promise. Anyway, so there. That's all I need to say again about the mailing list.
Do we send more than 1 or 2 pieces of mail a month?
No.
Not really. No.
Yeah. I don't even know if we send 1 or 2 pieces a month. So, yeah. So definitely low traffic mailing list.
Yeah, low volume.
So there you go. And that brings us down to the end of the show. But before we get on out of here, we do want to mention the folks who joined us live. And the Peanut Gallery did start filling up as we started recording the show. So we do have some folks who are listening to us. And we had Don, KC9ZMY, Ted, WA0EIR, Tony, K4XSS, Dan, KF5TQN, Don, KB2YSI, and Darren, VK6EK. So thanks, guys, for coming in and listening to us live. We appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody who downloads and listens to the show and supports us either by buying some merch or just listening to the program or signing up over at Patreon or PayPal to help keep the lights on. Thanks once again to everybody. We try not to harp on, sending us money because we enjoy doing this, and we hope you enjoy listening. And don't forget about the QSO Today Ham Radio Expo on the 14th and 15th. We look forward to seeing you over there. And with that, I think we are done. We have come down to the end of episode number 423 of Linux in the Ham Shack. Have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next one. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD 73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. The show is recorded live every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Time, ± QRL. Connect to the live stream at url.bcts.info/LHS Live. Our website is located at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast by visiting the LHS Patreon page at patreon.com/LHS Podcast or by using the contribute list on the homepage. Get in touch via social media. We have a presence on Discord, Facebook, IRC, Twitter and YouTube. Our IRC channel is #LHS Podcast on the Freenode network, and the Discord invite link is url.bcts.info/Discord. You can also drop us an email at info@lhspodcast.info or leave us a voicemail at 1-909-LHS-SHOW. That's 1-909-547-7469. Visit the online LHS merchandise store at shop.lhspodcast.info for fun and fashionable show-themed merchandise. Become an ambassador and represent LHS at a local Linux convention or Hamfest. Email ambassadors@lhspodcast.info for more information or visit the homepage for details. Until next time, remember to always heed your hedonism.